You're listening to the VTZone.com's weekly Scoutcast. Everything Hokies. And now here's publisher Jason Stamm.
Welcome to another edition of VTZone.com's weekly Scoutcast. I am publisher Jason Stamm. We're in that kind of weird time where we're like in between, kind of waiting on the Belk Bowl, where we've just finished the regular season. We do have basketball season going on, and we do have Doug Bowman. So, Doug, how's everything going in Rich Vegas?
Oh, it's good. Just marching towards the holidays and all that good stuff.
Do you have all your Christmas shopping done?
Absolutely not. I haven't done anything.
Nothing? You don't even have one gift or anything?
Nope. Just gonna.
Man,
I guess we'll get on Amazon here. We'll get on Amazon here.
That's true. Amazon. Do you have Amazon Prime?
Yep.
So you can get Amazon Prime. You get free shipping, and you get it shipped really quick anyway. So
yeah.
You'll be all right. As long as you don't wait until
it.
December 23rd, I think you're okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Doug, I will say again, we're not. We don't have a game to talk about this week. We're still a week and a half removed from the ACC championship. We talked a little bit about the Belk Bowl last week, but I guess we're in that time of year, though, too, where a lot of the postseason awards are getting handed out. We had the Heisman Trophy, obviously, on Saturday. Surprise there, I think, Lamar Jackson. But we also had a lot of ACC awards. Justin Fuente, Consensus ACC Coach of the Year by the coaches and the media. What's kind of your, I guess, reaction to that? How big is that for the program? Virginia Tech, that he gets, Coach of the Year.
It's obviously a huge accomplishment, and kind of if it needed any more validation about how good of a hire it was, for his first year, this was a program that was kind of middle and around in that 7-5, 8-4, 6-6 area. In about 9 months, he kind of turned it all around and took him back to the ACC championship. So, obviously, I think if Fuente hadn't won it, I think the only other person that could have won it would be Dabo. But I guess voters like that kind of reclamation project story a little bit. So, that's obviously a good honor for him. I don't think he's going to tell anybody that he's super pumped about it. He doesn't seem like that kind of guy. But, anytime you're winning Coach of the Year awards, it's a good thing. Well,
and my thought, if nothing else, Doug, it should go nice, in this little trophy case next to the WWE Championship belt that he has.
Yes. It's exactly, it complements each other well.
Yeah, why not? You can show that off. The Coach of the Year, WWE belt. But to me, it was kind of, bittersweet, kind of, you can almost call it kind of a slap that, as good as Virginia Tech was, they were the runner-up in the championship game. Really, they only had one first-team selection, and that wasn't even by the coaches. They had one AP selection, and that was Woody Barron. So were you surprised that they didn't have more representation on that on really any first-team list?
Yeah, I'm surprised that Isaiah Ford didn't get it. I think he's the one that probably deserved it the most. I know who were the first-team wide receivers? I think Williams from Clemson and the Syracuse kid.
Ed Towell?
Yeah, so, I guess there's only 2 slots for a wide receiver. So I thought Ford probably had a strong case there. So, when you're 9-3 and playing for a conference championship, obviously you got some of the best players in the conference on the team, and to not get them on the first team was probably a little disappointing to some, but it gives them a little motivation going into next year.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. And they had a couple of other guys on that second team. Well, okay, first of all, before we get to the second team stuff with Isaiah Ford, Woody Barron, I know, again, he wasn't on all of the first team ballots, or first team awards, but did get a couple of first teams. And to me, we've talked about it, it's been talked about during the season, just the transformation that Woody is kind of taking this year. It's the guy who gray-shirted and red-shirted, and now he's a first-team all-ACC guy senior year. What does that mean to have a guy like him, get on a first team?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge for obviously him and Virginia Tech as a whole. That's the kind of player that Virginia Tech that's going to allow Virginia Tech to compete for championships consistently. I don't think it's going to take a lot more for Virginia Tech to recruit at a Clemson level or an Alabama level, and I don't see that happening anytime soon where they're just pulling in 5 stars and 4 stars left and right. So to get a guy like Barron, who's a 3-star coming out of high school and gray-shirted, red-shirted, and now he's a 5th-year senior, and that's where you're going to get kind of the most value, and that's where Virginia Tech can level the playing field if they can develop a full roster of guys like that are 22, 23 years old with plenty of game experience playing every down. So I think that's kind of the perfect example for what Justin Fuente wants to build.
Well, and I just think it's probably the perfect example of they still talk about that lunch pail defense and the lunch pail mentality. I don't know if anybody epitomizes the lunch pail on that defense more than Willie Barron. I mean, everything that guy's been through. There's some other really good defenders on that team. I mean, Canham gets talked about a lot, and some of the other guys up front. But Woody Barron, big time epitomizes everything that they're doing. I think everything Bud Foster wants to do. So I think it's big in a lot of ways for him to be a first teamer.
Yeah, and you talk about kind of the lunch pail. Woody Barron's not your picture perfect defensive tackle in terms of being a 6'3", 320
exactly
immovable person. He's kind of undersized for a defensive tackle, but just the way he plays and how hard he works and all that kind of stuff obviously made a difference.
Any surprises from the other guys on second team, Doug? I mean, you got we talked about Isaiah Ford already, but you got Tremaine Edmonds getting a second team. I know Matu Pawaka got on there for the AP. Greg Stroman, I thought was interesting, got an honorable mention as a returner. Any surprises on any of those guys with second team? And that's not even third team. You had Bucky Hodges, McLaughlin, Connie.
I didn't
all getting third team.
Tight end.
It's so overblown. That's
a
whole different topic.
I mean, I think you mentioned Tremaine on the second team. I mean, that's a guy that everybody was kind of unsure about if he was going to be ready to play, 12 games as a starting linebacker. And, I think he really developed over the course of the year, and he's obviously got all the tools to be really, really, really good. So, his first season as a starting linebacker and he gets second team, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I still think Tremaine, he's still in a lot of ways a little raw. I think he definitely is going to benefit from having that another year. But I mean, this is a guy that we can already talk about possibly going. Could he leave after next year? I mean, this is a whole other season left. But as it stands right now, I think he could be in that discussion. I definitely do.
Yeah, I mean, if he continues kind of what we saw this year and, his development and all that, I mean, his second team this year, I don't think it's outlandish to think that he could be a first teamer next year, and with kind of his skill set and physical tools. I mean, if he's having success as a 6'4", 6'5", 230, 240 pound linebacker, there's going to be an NFL team that really wants him, I think. Yeah,
6'5", 235, 240, somewhere in there. I mean, that's very good size for a linebacker.
That's pretty much how you draw them up if you were going to create something from scratch.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I think Tremaine is definitely. I mean, yeah, again, he's got some room to grow and improve, but I think he's definitely on track for a big season next year. And again, the snubs continue, or are you surprised that Evans didn't get on any other list?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
He was newcomer of the year, but co-newcomer of the year.
I mean, I guess it's tough to squeeze on a list when you're in the league with Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson, but
that's true.
But, somewhere, I mean, I think he's going to be on a lot of lists preseason next year. So, and, he's kind of, maybe it's good that he's got this competition and, nobody's really talking about him. Let's keep him motivated going into next year. And he kind of has Jackson to measure himself against in the league. So, although Virginia Tech won't play them, but
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he had a great season and obviously deserves some recognition. But with two Heisman finalists also playing the same position and stuff.
Yeah, I think where he has a complaint and where maybe you think he could have gotten in with third team though. I mean, I know Mitch Trubisky had a good season, but I don't know, man. I think Gerard had a better season than Trubisky did, even overall record.
Yeah,
and the head-to-head.
We're gonna call a little issue with the third team. I mean, that's obviously I don't know.
I'm just saying. I thought Gerard would have gotten something on there.
I don't think
that would have been the spot.
Trubisky had a better year than Evans by any stretch. Obviously he had a good start to the year, but he didn't do enough to win the games down the stretch. And I think that's part of an evaluation of the quarterback is are you winning the games? And I think UNC obviously fell off at the end, and Evans' team didn't. So I would have given Evans third team.
So recruiting-wise, Doug, it was a very big, a very important weekend. I mean, it's the final weekend before the dead period. It starts today. Already had one commit during the week with Jalen Holston, which we kind of knew he was very close, and we knew it was going to happen. It was just, I feel like it's been a matter of time for months. And then get another commitment on Sunday from Terrius Wheatley. So, I guess overall, what do you think about the final big push here, the big weekend before the dead period?
Yeah, I mean, just those two commits you're talking about, Holston and Wheatley. I mean, I think that's obviously Holston was the number one guy on the board, on the running back board for a while. Pretty much the only guy they were recruiting for most of the year. So to lock him up and get him on board was huge. And then I think you're seeing, given suddenly the running back depth chart is kind of opening up in terms of who's after McMillan and who's going to be ready to play. So I think it's kind of stretching the net a little bit. And Wheatley is a prep guy, probably a good kind of under the radar guy that might have a chance to be a little bit of a sleeper and surprise some people. But I mean, it was a huge weekend. Obviously, they had, I don't know how many people they had, 15 people on campus or whatever.
Yeah,
including Devin Hunter. So, I mean, coming off an ACC championship game appearance to get a bunch of highly rated guys on campus going into the bowl. So hopefully they can get some momentum going off of this and win the bowl game, and then it's January, and that's when things will really get crazy.
Right, and the Wheatley kid is the one that's really intriguing. You mentioned Doug Holston is no surprise. He's been that top target for, we're talking about 6 months or more. He's been the top guy. But Wheatley, it's really interesting. He's the son of Tyrone Wheatley, former NFL running back, now assistant coach with Michigan. His brother, Tyrone Wheatley Jr., was a big-time big recruit a couple of years ago. This kid just does not fit the mold, first of all, of his dad or his brother. Both those guys are huge running backs. This kid, I don't know if he's getting the scraps off the dinner table or what, but he's not quite the hulking running back that those two guys were. But he looks pretty, at least from what I've seen, pretty elusive. I know they recruited him as an athlete, offered him as an athlete. I was talking to our Michigan analyst, Alan True. He did play Terrius Wheatley did play his last year of high school in Michigan at Pioneer High School after his dad got the job at University of Michigan. He didn't go to Fork Union because of any grades, which was kind of good to know. It sounds like he went to Fork Union just because he didn't have any offers, or not any he really liked. I think he ended up with like Buffalo and Old Dominion offers to go with Virginia Tech. So still not a whole lot of big-time offers, but good bloodlines. You got to like who his dad is. You know, he has had an extra year at Fork Union. I think that would help. Sounds like, again, even though they're recruiting him as an athlete, maybe probably a DB. I think it sounds like he played mostly DB in high school.
Huh. Yeah, well, I mean, if they recruit him as an athlete, I imagine they're gonna slot him somewhere and probably move him around a little bit and see what's happening. But, you know, you mentioned that, so he graduated high school and then it's been basically a fifth year at SUMO, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, I mean, those are guys that, you know, Tech's had success with over the years, and in terms of, you know, them being able to come in and, you know, either they contribute because they basically had that redshirt year, or, you know, they kind of get that extra redshirt year with development time. So, you know, we'll see where he ends up. But, you know, I think if you got a little bit of ability, I think they're gonna find a spot for you on the field somewhere.
McLaughlin did pretty well. I guess that's probably the most recent guy from Fork Union.
Yeah.
I don't think this McLaughlin, even right off the bat, was pretty well. He was pretty polished. I mean, I think he was pretty ready to play. I don't know if this
he started from day one.
Yeah, and that's, you know, I guess, I mean, it's always kind of interesting to think, like, you know, technically McLaughlin played as a true freshman, but not really, because he had that. It was almost like a redshirt year that he got to play at Fork Union. So I think it worked out really well. But, yeah, you're right. Yeah. A lot of times these Fork Union guys really pan out.
Yeah, and you get to – he's enrolling in January, isn't he?
Uh-huh. Yeah, because Fork Union's only – at least the post-grad are always just one semester.
Yeah, so, I mean, if there's somebody that you think you can play and, you know, he's got that extra year and then he comes in and gets, you know, full spring practice too. So it's not like he's a typical freshman by any stretch, you know, coming in August and trying to learn the playbook and do all that stuff and play the true freshman. He gets, you know, the entire spring, the entire, you know, winter workouts, the entire summer. So, you know, I think when you recruit those guys that had that extra year, you know, they have probably a better chance of contributing early than you know, your typical high school senior.
Well, and to me, the one interesting thing, I mean, besides Wheatley committee for the weekend, Doug, is I don't know how much, I don't if you and I have really talked about Dylan Rivers, but Dylan Rivers has been committed to Penn State most of the year. I think I was telling you about after the Georgia Tech game, or at the Georgia Tech game, he took an unofficial visit, basically went out of his way to avoid me, and I noticed some other guys were taking pictures alongside of me. It's like he's been trying to stay so hush-hush under the radar, and then they take did you see the team photo?
Yeah.
Or they not the team photo, but like the group photo of all the recruits?
Yeah.
He was the one guy wearing an orange jersey.
Yeah.
He wasn't really staying very, like, hidden. Like, if you're going to be the only guy to stand out, the white dude wearing the orange jersey, it's not really being too, like, quiet.
Yeah, I think Penn State knows that he's looking around a little bit.
And that'd be a huge get for Virginia Tech. I mean, he's 4 stars. He's in the Scout 300. We'll see. I mean, they've gotten him here for a couple times now, so there's definitely a lot of interest there. And you get these guys on official visits, I just feel like that changes everything.
Yeah, I guess it's 2 visits in a month, or a little less than a month.
Yeah.
And, I mean, linebacker, obviously getting those kind of highly rated linebackers is one of the things that Virginia Tech's missed on for the last several years. So, you know, anytime they're in the running for a big-time linebacker, that's something to keep an eye on. And, you know, obviously he probably doesn't really want Penn State to know, but it's out there, so.
Yeah, you're going to pose in the group photo with orange jersey. I think it's out there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a chance they could get 2 pretty big linebackers between him and Marquise Bell. who also took his official visit, another Scout 300 guy. So you got two big-time linebackers that could commit.
Yeah,
I think the odds are pretty good.
Yeah, Dax in 2018, and you got 2 more years of Tremaine, and I think, and obviously they have to actually get the commitments. But I think they're recruiting kind of the kind of linebacker, kind of talent at linebacker that they missed out on for so many years.
Yeah, they've missed out on a few. I know they had to. I guess they you could say they had to settle for a guy like Jack Tyler. I mean, Jack Tyler really turned out to be, pretty darn good in the last couple of years. But yeah, he was a walk-on.
Yeah, you just kind of get lucky when, you recruit a walk-on and you're hoping, maybe play special teams. And then, it's kind of like Sam Rogers. You recruit him and you like how hard he plays and stuff. And then all of a sudden you get him on campus and you're like, oh, wow, this guy, you might be able to play this guy and, he might be one of the best players on the team.
Yeah.
Or Jack Tyler's case, one of the best linebackers in school history.
Yeah, Jack is definitely going to go down as one of those top guys, I think. I mean, it's been really cool. I know he's been a GA for Bud this season, and I think it's really helped him to be able to be around the team. And who knows, man? Jack is one of those guys, as hard as as much as he puts his mind to everything, as hard as he goes everything, it wouldn't be surprising to see him at some big-time school as a linebackers coach or, I don't know, something here in the very near future. But anyway, as far as the recruiting stuff goes, pretty big weekend, and we're going to have all kinds of updates. We've already had a few so far, but lots more coming. So, Doug, it's also been a fairly eventful week for basketball, and we talked about, I think, the win over Michigan last week. They get the win over Maryland Eastern Shore early in the week, and that's not only a big one, but a pretty good win over Ole Miss on Sunday. So I don't know if you got a chance to watch that game, Doug, or how much you saw, but what do you think of getting a win? Again, it was at home, and Ole Miss is not, they're not Duke, but it's still another pretty good non-conference win.
Yeah, I mean that was I watched the game, and Ole Miss, that's kind of another win that come March, kind of when there's a glut of teams with 10, 11 ACC wins, they that's the kind of one non-conference win that can kind of differentiate Virginia Tech from them, and hopefully get them on the right side of the bubble. I mean, those are that and the Wooden legacy, I think, is the tournament over Thanksgiving. Because obviously there are opportunities to kind of pick up those Power 5 wins in the non-conference portion. And, I think that A&M loss is going to haunt them for a little bit, because, they would have gotten to test themselves against UCLA at the next game. But I think Ole Miss, Michigan, New Mexico, Nebraska, I mean, if you're worried about the bubble, those are your 4 favorite teams besides Virginia Tech until March. Because it'd be really beneficial if a team like Michigan or Ole Miss or New Mexico historically has been pretty good and can kind of sneak up there.
Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss has had. I mean, they haven't been great, but they've had, I think it's 9 20-win seasons under Kennedy. I mean, he's been there for a while.
They made the postseason 7 times in the tournament twice. So, they're not a great program, but they'll probably be, in the conversation on the bubble this year.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, they usually, Ole Miss is one of those that they kind of live on the bubble. I think Andy Kennedy has been nothing but a bubble guy his whole career there. But, I mean, when you're, it's a football school, I think that's about all they expect is kind of just be in the conversation every year. And, I mean, obviously, they kind of stay around.
They're kind of like Tech was on the Greenberg.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
A decent team, and they'll probably pull an upset and beat a couple ranked teams. They'll probably be on the bubble at the end of the season.
Right. Well, from that game, though, Doug, I thought it was kind of interesting. I mean, nothing's really changed as far as they're going to live and die on the 3, but it was really interesting to see how much they struggle with the 1-3-1 zone. Did that surprise you? That really surprised me, just to see how much they struggled.
I mean, I just think they were getting open looks, but they just, they weren't going in. I mean, there was one stretch right when they switched to it where, they probably had 4 or 5 straight possessions where they attempted a 3-pointer and, they're open looks, but that's kind of when the shots aren't falling, when they kind of go in a drought, that's when Ole Miss made that run to make it. I think Tech was up 11 at one point in the first half, and then it was 1 point at halftime, and that's when Tech goes cold. That's where they kind of, that's where they can get beat because they just can't. They don't have the size to protect the rim or stop anybody on consistently enough inside. So that's where teams, if Tech's missing their shots, then that's where teams can chip away the lead. So that's pretty much where I'm concerned is, when they throw out that lineup with Ledet and Clark as the 4 and the 5, that's obviously really, really, really good offensive lineup. But defensively on the glass, they can struggle to close out possessions and get stops. So when Dream gets into foul trouble early, they kind of have to play that lineup a little too much. Which is why Blackshear would just be so huge if he could come back. But, who knows if that's going to happen.
Well, and I still love, Doug, that you're just referring to him as Dream now.
Dream. He's the best big man that Doug Williams has ever coached. I mean.
Yeah, that's some big words.
Yeah, so Hadim Sai, right? That's how you say his name?
I think it's C. Yeah, Hadim C.
Yeah, so Dream, he's a lot better than, we were thinking he was going to be, but I don't think he's anywhere close to being able to play 20, 25, 30 minutes in the ACC. So,
oh, no.
It'll be interesting when they start playing Duke and Louisville and Carolina and those teams, how well does the Clark and Ledet lineup where you're playing a 6'6" and a 6'6.5" guy at power forward and center. So we'll see.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know. I mean, it's not. He hadn't had any kind of effect so far. But were you surprised at all with Johnny Hamilton? I mean, now that he's been officially out for the season, it was so weird that, I mean, he didn't even dress against Maryland Eastern Shore, and then Buzz just kind of threw in nonchalantly, he didn't earn the jersey, and then come to find out the next day he has an MRI and he's done for the season. Yeah,
I don't know if those were related or
it was just so bizarre.
Yeah, it was weird. It seemed like he was kind of in the doghouse, and then the next day, we actually got a pretty serious thumb injury. So I don't know if the thumb injury happened in the meantime while he was in the doghouse, or.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he wasn't playing at all, really. I mean, the games where you can look at it and really learn what the rotation is this game's against Ole Miss and Michigan, and I don't think he was going to be a factor moving forward. So it's not a huge loss in terms of filling a role, but he's a tall dude and he could help probably at some point.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Just and nothing else, just to have a body in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I think we talked about earlier in the year how they kind of used Shane Henry last year as like a 3-minute starter just to steal a couple minutes at the start of the game with a tall guy that can rebound and protect the glass to keep Ledet or somebody out of foul trouble. But so that's the role that I thought he might have been able to fill. And as Buzz tries to piece together 40 minutes without getting destroyed on the glass and at the rim on defense. But yeah, it was weird how it was how he didn't earn the right, and then now he's got a season-ending thumb injury.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird turn of events to go from didn't earn the right to out for the season. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see Greg Donlon in there at some point. I mean, Greg's what, 6'7"?
Yeah, I mean, he's taller than Ledet and Clark, I think. Or
yeah, I think you're right. I think he's more like 6'8".
Yeah, so need a rebound in a pinch. Throw him out there and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, he might be somebody you throw in there for some garbage time just to, save Ledet from getting in, if he's in foul trouble or if he gets in foul trouble. I mean, who knows? He could be a guy that comes as kind of the odd piece that fits in there at some point.
Yeah, and see, Dream got those 2 fouls. I think the second one was on a moving screen, and then all of a sudden Tech had to play most of the first half with that smaller, undersized lineup, and if that happens in ACC play, I just don't know how they'll hold up against the best teams in the country.
Yeah, I think it's definitely some good points, and I mean we're only, I think they've got 3 games, and then we get into ACC, and right off the bat, first ACC game, New Year's Eve with Duke. So I think they'll learn quite a bit immediately in that game.
Yeah, I think the other thing is the A&M game, and then to a lesser extent the Ole Miss game, kind of gave a blueprint for how to beat Tech in terms of throw a zone at them and see if that knocks them out of their rhythm offensively, and then just send your tallest guys onto the court and destroy them inside, basically. So, I won't be surprised when a team like Duke just sends in all their 6'10" dudes.
Yeah, they've got a few, not to mention, some of these really good underclassmen that they've got also. So I think that'll be quite the handful for Virginia Tech. But Doug, let's finish out here, man. Do you got a shout out this week?
Shout out. I'm going to shout out, since Skip's not here, we're going to shout out the Highland Springs Springers.
There you go.
Another state championship for old Skip. Get another ring on the finger. I think they played the same team they played last year, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so. From
Bridge. So, state championships are cool. So, shout out to the Springers for 2 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I never want to say championship. So, for Skip to have one on each, you've got matching rings, or we'll have matching rings on each hand. Not to mention his wedding ring. He's going to be kind of, jeweled out here.
Yeah.
So, and that's one thing I want to ask Skip too. Like, do you think he wears his championship ring all the time, or does he have it locked away in a trophy case?
You
think he ever breaks it out?
Yeah, I'm sure he breaks it out for special occasions and stuff. And if he's hanging out with any Verina people, I'm sure he makes sure to bring it out.
I was about to say, what would those special occasions be?
Any I don't know what Skip does.
Fashion show? Does he pull out?
Yeah, fashion. I don't know. Yeah. What else? What does anybody wear a ring for?
Yeah, I can't talk bad about Skip. He's not here to defend himself, but he's got all kinds of stuff, I guess, going on right now. He hasn't been able to join us for a while, so we got to get. We're getting a little Skip deprivation here. I think we need to get back on track maybe next week.
I guess he's like LeBron during the playoffs. How he turns off his cell phone and deletes Twitter during the playoffs and stuff. I think.
Yeah, it might be. Now they've won the state title, maybe we can get him back. He's getting back to normal Skip mode. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to give my shout out to the Western Kentucky coaching tree because that thing.
Oh yeah, we were talking about it last week and the next day.
Yeah, you got Willie Taggart now at Oregon. You got Jeff Brom, who's now gotten hired at Purdue. Of course, Bobby Petrino's gone on to Louisville. I mean, the tree is sprouting, man. It's been a hell of a. I mean, Western Kentucky has turned into what? It's like a
breeding ground for
yeah. The last 3 coaches now are D1 head coaches somewhere.
Who are they going to hire now?
I don't know. I mean, I'm lobbying for a few guys I've kind of buddies with that are in the coaching family that have stopped at Western Kentucky. I don't give too much wigs. I think I'm under oath not to say much, put much out there. But I think they've got a few good candidates. I can already tell you it's not going to be Paul Petrino, who I know they've interviewed. They actually interviewed Paul Petrino before they hired Willie Taggart, which was Paul Petrino was one of the finalists. That was before he went out to Idaho. I guess he was still a coordinator at Arkansas then. But I really don't think it's going to be Paul Petrino.
Yeah, I think they made the right decision.
Yeah, I think so too. Paul Petrino is now in Idaho, and I mean Idaho's good. They're 8-4, but it's Idaho. It's not quite the same.
I mean, you're just looking for a coach for 3 years before, he can move on, and then, Braum will probably get fired at Purdue after 3 years, and then he can come back.
Yeah, Braum's got his hands full, man. I don't envy that guy at all. Purdue is just kind of a wasteland for coaches. I mean, they haven't been good since Drew Brees was there.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, the stadium still doesn't even have lights. You realize that? You know that every game at Purdue, most people don't even realize, every Purdue game after, I guess definitely after the time changes, has to be at noon. Like they play all their games at like 12 o'clock, 12:30. Yeah, because they don't have lights.
I think if I was Jeff Brom's agent, I would have walked into the room and said, "We need this much money. We need this much money for assistants, and we need some lights on the field."
Yeah, it's one of I think there's a couple. There's, if I remember right, one other Big Ten team that doesn't have lights. Like Northwestern, maybe.
It might be. I feel like Michigan didn't have lights for the longest time.
Okay.
But
it's just weird to think about. There's so many night games and stuff now.
Yeah, you're telling me if Purdue's good and they're playing Michigan, and they're, let's say Purdue's ranked like 22nd and Michigan's top 5, they're going to play it at noon.
Yeah, I mean right now they'd have to because they can't. They'd be playing in the dark. So
brutal.
We'll see if Mom can get them some lights. Can negotiate some lights.
Tech fans complain about getting noon starts. Can you imagine getting noon starts not because ESPN doesn't want to put you later, but because
you have to?
You have to play at noon.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. I don't envy that job whatsoever. So,
sorry to all the Purdue fans that listen to our podcast.
Yeah, I mean, if we have any Purdue fans, hopefully we haven't offended you too bad. But I'm sure we have some other Purdue podcasts here on iHeart.
We listen to that one.
Right. So, Doug, we're waiting on here. I guess this will be out this morning here on Monday. I'm still not even sure what it is. A big announcement coming. If you listen to this on Monday afternoon, you'll obviously know by now. But still waiting to see. I don't know what this big announcement is. They've been sending out emails and talking about some big announcement here on Monday morning, 11 a.m. Of course, I'll be there to cover it. But
for who?
Whit,
Virginia Tech.
Yeah, Whit's talking. Frank Beamer is talking. The Belk Bowl executive VP is talking, and Kenny Brooks. So a very weird assortment of
what
speakers. Yeah, I'll have to forward you this email, Doug. It's a little out there. I'm not really sure exactly
Brooks
what it is.
Be?
Yeah, he's kind of the wild card in the whole thing. The rest of it's like, okay. And then Kenny Brooks is thrown in there. So I'll have to forward it to you. It's quite interesting,
weird,
to say the least. Yeah. So we'll see what this big announcement is. We'll have any coverage of that later today on Monday, whatever it is. And
shout out to our loyal listener, Whit Babcock. Can't wait to see you tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Whit has any suggestions for the podcast. That's what I could ask him. When he's at the podium, I'll ask him, does he have any suggestions for the podcast?
That would be good.
Yeah.
We'll have to get started Purdue podcast probably.
Yeah. We'll see where we come after that. So, all right. For Doug Bowman, I'm Jason Stamm. Thank you for checking out another edition of the podcast. We'll see you back here next week.
Bye.